am in very cloudy, humid Puerto Rico. So, yeah. But I escaped the mess in New York.
How long you been there though?
So I got here April 20. So I had a ticket coming in May because I always come for Memorial Day. And this thing hit in March. Like in February, there were cases already, but the pandemic hit really bad in March. It started. I cannot properly describe the level of anxiety and panic attacks because my build is a building, right? So, and a lot of old people live there. My neighbor was coughing, and two neighbors, my next door neighbor and across the hall. So I had to put my alarm at 3:00 in the morning so I can go pick up the mail. I live in a 4th floor. I have to take the stairs. They were telling us not to take turns in the chute for the trash. So I had like piles of bags, like little shop bags. I also put my alarm clock at 3:00 in the morning when everybody was sleeping. Spray, and then throwing everything out. I got an ass. So now I was diagnosed in February with Barrett's esophagus, which is the funny thing because in February is when I had things happen for reasons when I had all those procedures, the endoscopy, colonoscopy, all of that kind of stuff. Had I postponed that, it would have been a lot worse. So now, I can show you. I have pantoprazole, which is to treat that. I have amlodipine, which is Norvasc for high blood pressure. I have Singular for the allergies and the asthma. It triggered asthma, the Lysol and the Clorox, and the constant cleaning and the constant triggered asthma. And there's a really sharp, incline of cases. And Cipro because UTIs, because when it rains, it pours. And and I would still call a doctor to treat the anxiety. And what we're seeing.
So you're like you're one of these people at risk, like very at risk, right? I mean, you have multiple factors.
I don't think that, the issue with the esophagus and the stomach, it hasn't been listed as a high risk. I'm only 44.
Right.
But I have chronic, that I have chronic sinuses. When we were in Puerto Rico together, it was an issue with the points and all of that. Yeah.
I totally forgot about that, but now I remember. Yeah, man. It was terrible.
Remember because, for those that are listening, we were together in Puerto Rico during Hurricane Maria. And Hector can attest that because all the greenery and all of that went away, pollen was really high because they're trying to reproduce, right? So all these trees. And I had Flonase. I had all of that. I have serious allergies. So it was just a matter of time for the minimum thing that I was going to get asthma. So the asthma became an issue. So the big problem for me, which is when the panic attacks and the anxiety happen, is because we can leave our apartments like that during this mess. This medication was not available. I couldn't refill it on time. You're not supposed to skip a dose. Anybody that has acid reflux can attest.
I take levothyroxine for my thyroid. I have hypothyroidism, and so I got to take a pill every day. And my doctor's been refilling the prescription automatically for 2 years, right, already, because I have it.
Yeah. Well,
and then I'm like, watch her deny my prescription during the pandemic, and that's exactly what she did. And then I had to do this video conference bullshit, which is like a physical, like this, doing a physical like this.
Yeah, I tell her.
She's like, do you feel bad? Do you ever feel cold or hot when others don't? I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know. It's not a physical.
Can I just have my medication?
They just want that money, though. They just want that money.
They just want the money. But in my case, the refill was there. I mean, my doctor has been, oh my God, a shout out to Dr. Joseph Neil. He's, Neil Joseph. he blames his parents for giving him 2 first names.
Yeah.
Joseph is actually his last name. He's been nothing but an ain't. I mean, he sent prescriptions here to Puerto Rico. He's like, it's gonna be a risk because I'm not licensed there. I said, just try. And I got the Protonics. So the thing is, we're not allowed to leave the building just like that. So I was like for 3 days without the omeprazole. And I had a serious acid rebound. So what that does is when you don't have the PPIs or anything for your acid reflux, your body thinks and now has to produce 3 times more acid. So when you're laying and you're sleeping, all that acid comes all the way to your throat. So it burnt my esophagus, sternum, and in my throat during the asthma. So now I had the pump, the little, which I don't have anymore. I had the inhaler, and I had the Flonase, and I have everything, the impossible to actually fix my throat. Couldn't speak. Swallowing wasn't a problem, but it was awful. But here's the thing, the choking and the shortness of breath happened in New York. So you can imagine my panic attacks. I literally still have my thermometer, which I was taking my my temperature every 3 hours to make sure that it's not coronavirus.
Right.
I could not sleep. I saw dead people coming out of the buildings. I saw ambulances, at night. So when I'm hearing this and then suddenly I'm waking up with shortness of breath, which was caused by the acid rebound, that's not to say that I probably had it, but thankfully I'm fine. I said, you know what? I'm just going to change this ticket and I'm going to escape. However, the thought of getting into an airport.
That's the worst part. We had people who were in Chicago and they were on lockdown, and then they decided to come to Vegas, right? Because it was better in Vegas, right?
Right.
And I'm like, how would you go to an airport? Like, I get leaving, right, wanting to go to Puerto Rico, obviously, right?
Right.
But the airport part, man, now you're like up against all these people in line and in the plane sharing that circulated air.
So, incredibly long story, obviously short. 2 nights before, because I'm thinking, first of all, the flights from New York to Puerto Rico were diminished to like only 10%. There were nothing. I mean, so I checked. I'm like, there has to be a way for me to go, home, because my mom. Actually, the background is my bedroom, and I found a flight incredibly early, which I thought it was a blessing at that time, because I'm like, yay, the earliest the better.
Right.
Go to Atlanta, here to San Juan. But the thought of going through 2 airports was the worst thing. Didn't sleep, and then I took my blood pressure, and it was like 190/9. I mean, something like that.
You were just stressed the fuck out, man. Imagine.
I said, I'm about to have a heart attack. So, but because here the anxiety has not gone down, I do, I said, just give me something. And so now I'm on this thing, Norvasc. Anyhow, I did not sleep at all that night. The 3:00 in the morning Uber was there sharp. I ordered the longer card to have that distance. He was there on time. I tipped him $20. Like, the guy all stood it up. I just texted him and I said, open the trunk and I'll don't worry about it. You're fine. I'm still going to tip you. He took me. I literally opened LaGuardia. It was 3:22 in the morning. The airport opens at 4:00 in the morning. And I was sitting on top of my suitcase waiting for the sliding doors. A guy comes in. The Uber waited until, God bless him, he waited until I was in the airport as the first person there, checked my bag, 4th person on the line, on TSA. And I had 2 covers, I had my glasses on, I had a face shield, I had double gloves. I mean, I said, I can dwell on this and I can just take action. I did, I packed a little purse with hand sanitizer, with 6 pairs of extra gloves just in case. I mean, everything. The moment I sat on that chair There was no one behind me, and there was no one sitting. I mean, it was like a button, boom, and I fell asleep. There was a release. I said, done. Atlanta, 2 hours and a half. I slept. I was a little anxious about San Juan. Now, let me explain for people that are watching.
Let me just point out though, before you say that you passed out, you were stressed out in the whole thing, and the most dangerous part, the flight, you're in a middle thing going from New York to San Juan. That's the part where you're like, that's how stressed out you were preparing, that the actual flight wasn't even that nerve-wracking for you.
I don't necessarily believe that's the most dangerous part, because
isn't that fucked up though? Like in society, that flying in a plane is safer than the other parts.
The other parts. However, if we're talking about the spread of the virus,
right.
If you're using the bathroom, which I made sure that no lavatory was going to be used, then I didn't. I'm like, I'm gonna pee in the seat if I have to be, but luckily I didn't have to. I didn't have anybody behind me. There was a guy sitting right here, and he was sleeping too. So, Delta has been very diligent in the social distancing and all of that. But the plane was probably like 40% full anyway. And people have been were very, at least in those flights, were very respectful. I don't know about, other experiences, but those were fine. Then we land in Atlanta. Now, let me tell you about Atlanta. They're a lot more conservative, and you have more, and there were people in the airport without masks. The flight attendant was without a mask. So I was a little freaking out, but going to San Juan. Now, let me debunk some things, because I've been saying some things in media about what happens when you land in San Juan. You will be greeted by the National Guard and some other institution and some nurses and whatnot that are all suited up with the PPE and baggage claim. And as you remember, in order to leave the airport, you have to go through baggage claim. You may not pick up a baggage, but you have to go through baggage claim. So they locked up that every single person will be taking the temperature. Little pistol thing that reads it. Mine was 97.7. Great. However, there were 3 people from the New York to Atlanta airport that that ended up on the Atlanta to San Juan. So they put it, the 3 of us had to actually register in the National Guard, even though we were fine.
Register as what? Like saying that where you're from, where you're coming from?
Yes. Everybody has to say where you come from. But of course they have that information, because they have your flight numbers. So I had to get my passport, my ID, which was, I gave them my little passport card and the address that I'm staying here. And you have to stay 14 days in wherever you said you were going to be, because you're high risk. I mean, you can, get other people sick. I didn't know it was a carrier. In fact, I didn't even want to come. The one thing was holding me back. I would have probably been here a lot earlier. But I didn't know if I was a carrier. I didn't want to get my mom sick, because she is high risk. She's 73.
Right.
And she had polyps and a serious colon like 10 years ago. And then the knee was replacement. So her, she's healthy, she's still high risk. And I'm like, I can't do that. But then I realized, Mama, this is what you're going to do. I don't exist for 14 days. I don't. I am in my bedroom, bathroom, and then the terrace.
That's what they say you have to do, right? You have to just, even if you guys are in the same place.
Yeah, and then the issue was the food. So I said, you are cooking. I cannot be in that kitchen. So I have my big jug of bottled water that I'm going to continue to fill with gloves on. Everything else you're going to have to serve, and you're going to have to clean it. That's it. Or anything that you serve me, serve it in one of those disposable things, which she did. Right. That was the, okay. And then I have my own trash can.
I feel like your mom has gone through it all in Puerto Rico, right? The last time it was hurricane, and there was no electricity, and now she's dealing with a pandemic.
And now the
Earthquakes.
epidemic is like she came from New York. It was driving her crazy and my family that I'm alone in the Bronx. Right, my brother's in New Jersey, but he's in an army base. You know, he's fine. My sisters are in Atlanta. My brother-in-law works at CVS. He's the lead pharmacist there. So he's high risk because he has been in contact with giving medication to people with the virus.
Wow.
So, but he's taking the precautions and being tested. But I'm the one secluded, sitting on my ass in the Bronx because I got laid off, just sitting, doing nothing but panicking and hearing people cough and seeing people die. Like really a war zone without weapons. And the enemy is invisible.
I wanted to talk to you about that because I mean, you for as long as I've known you, you're involved in your whole like milieu. The people you hang out with are all musicians and performers, and that's a whole world. You introduced me to this whole world, especially how you would tell me about what you were doing in New York. It seems like this pandemic has really just fucking destroyed that.
And it's not coming back. And when it comes back, it's not going to be the same. This is going to be the industry pretty much entirely, whether it's live performances or recorded, streaming, whatever. Streaming is in an upward. You know, people are at home and people are consuming that.
I saw this Saturday. I saw the EDC Las Vegas, and they did it live stream. And I've never tuned into anything like that. And I was actually impressed by it. I mean, obviously it's not like going to a festival, but it wasn't.
That's live performances being streamed.
Right.
However, when we talk about film and television, you still need a studio. You still need to go and record. It's not what we're doing here. You know, I
was reading that the fall season for TV is fucked because like they're supposed to be filming now, right, for fall. And nobody's filming. So what's going to happen in the fall?
We are all consuming TV and we are consuming film. We are consuming music. We are consuming things that have been recorded.
Right.
We are also redefining what live performances are when we come up live streaming things. However, if we want to go back to let's watch fiction or even a documentary, the actors, the people involved in this need to be in a place together, right, physically to record this. Arguably, you can say that about music, but we're coming from an era where people are not buying albums, where they're not.
And so they got most of their money from concerts and festivals, right? From performances.
Touring is the main source of income, right? Or at least the highest, and the merchandising and
right, yeah, which comes from touring. The merchandising comes from touring, right? These people go to touring.
So and even so, you have to be very creative with that. So now, either what do? We start promoting more album sales, which I will always do,
right?
And then people can, musicians can, or how are we going to redefine music in terms of the consumption and a source of income? That is one thing. Then we go to theater. It's done.
It's done.
There are probably ways to reinvent TV and film, right? So the low-hanging fruit of what I can see happening is a lot of illustration and anime and stuff like that, like cartoons. People, that's what's going to probably be happening. And, voiceovers can be done from home. So I can see the narration stuff, audiobooks coming, anything that can be secluded, probably being a little bit of an uprising for our consumption. Not with theater.
Not with theater, no. Well, you saw Hamilton's about to go on Disney Plus on July 3rd.
Yeah, but that was because they did it a year earlier. That was supposed to
in a theater, right?
The summer is like, okay, this is the time because people are consuming this. Frozen already closed. And this was my bread and butter for the last 5 years of my career. I have pretty much worked everything, TV, film,
right,
and music all my life. And now I'm back in theater with music. Every single musician that I know, And I'm talking about high rank and file, which, by the way, let me say, a lot. One of my very best friends lost 27 pounds in 2 weeks with this virus. A lot of musicians got it. If people, and I'm pausing and making this very clear, if you really believe that it is just a cough and a sneeze, you have one thing coming. Speaking, singing, or blowing into an instrument will get you sick. If you're a dancer on a theater, that will get you sick. If you see what I mean? So it's not just social.
I never even thought of that. Like, right? Like the woodwinds, right? The whole section, they're blowing on each other for what, an hour, 2 hours? Basically.
Right. So in February, so a lot of musicians, in fact, I'm going to send my healing vibes to Ron Wilkins, who finally got off of a ventilator. And he goes, oh, I'm doing well. I'm going to be released in 3 weeks. He's been already 6 weeks in the hospital. So, and we all know about Nick Cordero, who got his leg amputated.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wait, why? What happened there?
He really got very, very sick. And he's
and who is this?
Nick Cordero is a Broadway actor. And apparently his lungs look like he was smoking for like 50 years.
It's a ventilator that destroys your lungs. The more days you're on it, the higher risk you are of dying, actually.
Well, but also the virus, right? So, right. And so he woke up, but I mean, he's not the same. So it's the arts and entertainment have suffered. Every industry is suffering. Let me say, right? Probably not so much medications. People are consuming that.
No, I mean, you brought up consuming audiobooks. Like, yeah, Audible is saying that they're actually ordering more books, right? And this guy, he's a famous. They just did a profile of him in the New York Times. He's a famous like narrator, right? And he said, yeah, because he works from his home, right, in his basement. He's like, I'm working every day. I'm working, you know, they're actually giving me more orders because everybody's at home, and so there are some industries that are actually flourishing that you can do from home. Those industries are flourishing. And with me, I would say like one of the issues that I told you that I didn't want to do. I wanted to do video podcasting, right? But I wanted a studio, and that I couldn't do that I would have to do Skype or Zoom or FaceTime. It kind of like made me not want to do it. But now that everybody's doing stuff from home, now it's like somebody like me, I'm like, okay, now I'm on an even playing field with people. That's why I moved to video.
So, but that brings up the competition, right? Everybody's doing it. Then what is going to be your niche?
Right.
And that one thing that stands out, which musicians now or theater need to start thinking about. I mean, what are you going to do to reopen Richard Rodgers, you know, in all these Disney theatricals and Times Square? People, because that's one thing. We have social distancing, we have a virus. 36 million people are unemployed. Who is going to purchase those tickets? There is absolutely no way people are going to say, yay, we open, I'm going to spend $500.
Yeah, EDC, they streamed their thing and they had a really expensive production, it looked like, but it was free. They gave it out for free. Obviously, that's not a business model.
And it's not free. People get paid for that.
Right.
So it's not free. They're not losing money.
But I'm saying, like, they didn't advertise anything. It wasn't even really, they looked like they, you know, EDC was planned for this weekend, so they had no choice really to just put it out. And shout out to Carolina Calvache, who I talked to. I had a great conversation with yesterday.
Yeah.
And first of all, I updated Skype. The Skype call recorder didn't record, and then I lost it on my Zoom H6. Oh, man, that gutted me because we had such a great conversation. She's a pianist, composer from Cali, Colombia. She's based in New York. Now she's back in Colombia. And she's saying that she's going back to New York in September. And she's saying that some of the, you know, was scheduled for some concerts, right? Some festivals. And she said that the organizers are calling her saying like, yeah, we're going to do virtual. Are you down for that? And so, we kind of exchanged looks like, how is that going to work? And, you know, where does the applause come in? Like, it's weird. It
is. And, but in this weirdness is when we need to find and redefine, okay, this works, this doesn't.
And it's the youth that's going to do that. I mean, we're ready for that. We've been doing that already.
Right. I am very worried about the theatricals, not on screen, but on stage in live performances. Because music, probably you're right. In a festival like that, we can figure something out. It's weird, but it's been happening. We need to see the data in terms of financials, also how that works, because we're seeing festivals that are already, the money's already there. But are people going to consume a live stream festival like that, a Coachella, right? Or something like that people are accustomed of going and being there?
It's the experience, right?
It's the experience. You want to see your, and the applause and all of that. But that's what theater is, live theater is. It's an audience. Is being on that stage and having that audience live, there, human flesh. If not, what you have is a film. Right? If it's going to be on screen, it's what you have. So,
yeah.
Right. So
with no change of scenery, a really bad film, right? A filmed theater act is a really bad film, because in a film they go places. There's
you have locations, and you have this linear story where it's not contained, right? It is actually the opposite of what theater is.
Right.
And what you have in theater is made the opposite of on screen is. You show, don't tell. In theater, you tell, because you can't show, right? So that's why you have locations in film. So it's I think that what makes Hamilton special and unique is the actors, right? People want to see the original cast of this mega hit, and that's going to be consumed. And Disney Plus is going to probably, make all this money.
Oh, they're going to make a lot of money off of that. Everybody's going to tune in. Hamilton, 4th of July. Everybody's going to be watching that.
Everybody's going to be watching that. I've seen it. And you know what? I have to count my blessings. I've seen it with the original cast in New York and then here in Puerto Rico.
You bastards. Every time you guys would, everybody who would go to Hamilton, they'd post their tickets right on Instagram. And
I'm going to Hamilton.
And then the rest of us fucking schmoes are like, we'll catch it when it comes around. And now the fucking pandemic and it's over.
The beauty of this is, of Hamilton, different from other shows, is that they were very brilliant in promoting the original cast, right? And saying this is the original cast. And yeah, Christopher Jackson, who I love dearly, and Lin-Manuel, and Seth Stewart, and John Rua, who's Colombian. And Ariana DeBasi and all these people, and they promoted all of this, and now people are in love. Oh my God, now I have to see it. That's probably hasn't been the norm with the rest of the shows. I mean, where's the hype to go see Dear Evan Hansen, even though it's a big hit, or Phantom of the Opera, who's, I'm actually heard, 30 years on Broadway. What's going to happen to that show, Lion King, which has been over 15 years, probably more. So yeah, people that are going to lose their jobs. And it is it's a big company. These are all big companies, because their experience is going to take some time. They claim opening by, Labor Day. It's not happening. And if they do, they're going to lose money.
And people if they do, people buy a ticket. Right. Nobody's going to flood Broadway. People are going to trickle back in, but they're not going to flood it.
Nobody's going to flood Broadway, especially at those prices. And frankly, it's disingenuous for me to say this, because I'm working in the industry. I've had those experiences, but I put myself in the shoes of people, that do not have those experiences. I'll still wouldn't take a free ticket with the guy that is coughing.
Yeah.
I just can't. And trust me, a lot of people cough in theater. The reason is not only the temperature that has to remain that what it is, to protect the cast and the dancers, because if not, they're gonna have a heat stroke.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. I thought they just threw them into any old hall or some shit.
No, it has to say like that. Yeah. Those temperatures are measured. Also, it ruins the instruments if you put it either too hot or too cold.
So do you have like a system that maintains like humidity and stuff like that?
Yes, but the thing is also these buildings are very, very, very old.
Right.
So that's why people cough. If you go to a Philharmonic or Lincoln Center, that's what you're gonna hear. People in a classical show just that's why I don't go. A lot of people cough.
I saw something that arts and entertainment, and obviously this includes movies and TV, like the blockbusters and everything. But arts and entertainment makes up 5% of American GDP.
Mm-hmm. And in the recession before Obama, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the number one industry. Remember, the banks exploded and housing. That was like 2007. When banks collapsed and the housing market collapsed, what kept the economy running was arts and entertainment. And I will say this: I am incredibly, like I said, my brother-in-law is a lead pharmacist. In my sister works in an eye surgery, not considered essential, but still in that industry. And I think that anything essential, they should have their student loans wiped out to death. They should get free healthcare for life. They should get more money for them and their families.
They should get like a GI Bill, you know?
Yeah.
This is a war, right? This is a war, right? And these are the soldiers. These are the soldiers.
Yeah, they should get that. From the janitors should get, if they are, they should get free education for whatever they want to do for them and their families, everything like that. But I also want to remind people that if you're home stuck and you didn't know what to do, you turned on that TV, you turned on your radio or your CD. Never forget that the people that kept you sane were artists.
Artists and entertainers, yeah.
That audiobook you're listening to, those shows that you've been binging in Netflix or whatever.
Without that, it'd just be TikTok.
Right? Those, but what I've seen is people binge watching stuff. And I always remind people, don't forget that you had the opportunity to binge watch something that we are not essential. And I will never claim something like that, but we are important.
Oh yeah.
Because the sanity of that writer that wrote that script or that book that you're listening to, the musician that is playing that music, and a composer, all of that. That's why arts and entertainment are proving right now that it is what is uplifting the spirit of the pandemic.
Yeah, I was just talking to Professor Melissa Castillo-Planas last week, and we were talking about the A. For a while they tried to just do STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. But you got to add that A. That you have to add arts, like, because a society, a culture without no art, without no art, but that's I said that's an artistic phrase right there. But a society without art is dead, man. And without artists and entertainers, you see mental illness at a peak, all-time peak. And without fucking Netflix, without music, without all that stuff, imagine how much worse it would be.
It's well, and this is not the time. I was gonna say a lot of back in our days and our grandmothers.
Oh, you're right.
People had sex.
Yeah.
You can't do that right now. You need double protection.
Although I hear that, hookups. Supposedly, Dan Savage, right? He said that. Huh? No, he said that Dan Savage. He's like the leading columnist about love and sex. Supposedly, but he said that people are just using Tinder now. Like, hookups are still probably happening, he said, but because people are just when they want to get it in, they want to get it in. And they don't care about fucking. They didn't care about AIDS, all right? So you think they care about coronavirus?
You're right. Yeah.
They don't care about chlamydia. They don't care about gonorrhea and fucking herpes. They'll get it in. But he said that a lot of people are using Tinder to chat, to talk, with people on there.
So maybe there's a silver lining. Right. Now it's no longer about, let's get it on. Now let me see if you can speak in full sentences and, without, and like not misspell any text messages. I guess that's good, right? Who knows? I've met some assholes that do not know, that can spell, but will still defend Trump.
It's usually people who can't spell who defend Trump. I'm not saying anything. There's a lot of smart people who defend Trump for some reason. But a lot of people who can't spell defend Trump.
I have met a lot of humble people that are, especially, we met them in Hurricane Maria, and they know, they may not know how to read or write, but they know love and they know when something is wrong. So, which, leads me, we are all in this together, but we're not on the same boat. And whenever I hear that, it makes me cringe because Black and brown people are dying or getting infected at a higher rate than any.
No, I think for the fatality rate is higher. Like I think it's like 60% or something like that in Chicago, and Black people only make up like 20-something%.
And then of course we have our Asian American, and Asian and Pacific Islanders,
right?
Not only also being infected, but being the target of racism.
And that's what really it is, right? That those numbers show that these are people who are already discriminated against in the healthcare field. So, of course, when a pandemic comes, of course, it's going to affect them more, and you're going to see more deaths in that population.
Right. Not only that, but there's the misconception that this. Yes, it started in China. The United States didn't get it from China. I got it from Europe.
Yeah. No, in New York, it came from Europe.
It came from Europe. He banned travel from China. So, I mean, that's not to say that one person from China got it, but this demonization of any Asian-looking person out in a supermarket in being the source and the target.
And I don't get that. Who cares where a fucking virus came from? Like, you can't even control like how a virus mutates. They do their own thing. Like, it happened there because there's a lot of people in China, but that has nothing to do with race or, biology or anything.
Clearly, I mean, it's not a Chinese virus.
Right. Motherfuckers in America are catching it. So obviously it's not a Chinese virus.
Whether you're Asian or not, or Black and brown and now, I am watching carefully to see how this is probably going to peak in the mid states, which is Trump land, and how is that going to affect, his support, if it does. And I'm also very keen because one of the things, and I said this at Latino Rebels with Julito, and I shall repeat now, we got to stay very focused because this is the number one thing we need to be focused on, right? We need to wash our hands. We need to stay vigilant with the pandemic. But we cannot substitute that and forget that there's an election coming in November.
And they're trying to cancel that motherfucker.
And they're trying.
Because we got to do it by mail, right? But they don't want to. The Republicans don't want to do it by mail because they know that would actually increase voter turnout like a motherfucker.
Are you kidding? Yeah. I mean, no, not only. And now he wants to actually get rid of the USPS. So now we know why. Which brings me, is a good segue to the other thing is what are the underlying things, underlying issues that the pandemic is bringing. Not only, we already talked about racism briefly. In the USPS, we can't protest in the streets. Well, some people have been stupid enough to do that for the wrong reasons. Right. I mean, listen, nobody's putting you in a van and taking you to a concentration camp unless you're an undocumented immigrant by ICE, right? Put the damn mask on because you're going to Walmart to buy ice cream.
Right.
I mean,
nobody's going to shoot you fucking 20 times because you have a cell phone in your hand or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
These motherfuckers think they're oppressed. And haven't they been watching the news for the past fucking 50 years and seeing Black and brown and Indian people and everybody else who isn't white being oppressed? Women being oppressed?
Right. And you're going to Walmart to buy ice cream or a gun. Just put your dime mask on, take it off in your car if it's clean or if you're alone, right? And then go home. Nobody's telling you. It's ridiculous.
There's a theory about that there's that white Christianity has a death wish, that Christianity itself is a religion of death, right? Because you want the end of the world to come, right? You want this world to be done away with. It's Sodom and Gomorrah. You want God's, righteous wrath to destroy everything and take you to heaven, right? That's a death wish.
Right. Some people believe that that's what, oh my God, it's a pandemic. Is the apocalypse is happening.
And they were excited, right? Jesus is coming back. Let me get my clothes clean.
Oh my God, tomorrow I'm going on that cloud and the white horse. But how about we still cure children? How about we still put the mask on? You can go in the white horse if you're sick. I don't want to be no white horse. I want to stay right here having my anti-anxiety medication.
Like, I don't know if there's a heaven or not, or what happens to you after you die, but like, this is a nice place. I want to stay here for as long as I can. I'm not gonna.
Right?
I'm not.
We're gonna die, but come on. I don't want it to be this virus. But I will say this: I know many people that have died, or that will be crippled for life because of this virus, and it's something that you don't want. And if not wanting it means wearing a damn mask, just put it on or don't leave your home.
I was late setting up with you right now because I just went to the store. But yeah, every time we go to the store, I don't wear it in the car. But if I go into a store where if I go around people, I'm wearing a mask. Why not? Why not?
How is that so difficult? So, well, but apparently it is. So apparently it is. And this is why theater will fail, because they're idiots that because they pay $500 for the ticket, they have the right to wear the tuxedo without a mask. Just watch. Just watch. Yeah. I mean, I've seen simpler things happen. So
you had the idea of a labor podcast. What do you mean by doing a labor podcast?
So one of the things that there are labor podcasts. I know the AFL-CIO has one, and but we're not anything. I want to focus in our markets and what's happening with Latinos, particularly, but also where are we heading in each industry. But it doesn't have to be union based. I just labor, period, workers, and it could be also a small business owner. What's gonna happen? Where's your business heading? And did you get any help during this pandemic? I think that those conversations need to happen. And I'm also, interested to see how unionism is going to flourish, if it's going to flourish, because I think it will. I think people are going to be bargaining as a unit a lot more, even though
there's this place called Voodoo Donuts in Portland. And they just unionized by themselves. They didn't ask permission. They just they're affiliate now of the IWW, the Industrial Workers of the World Union. So you're going to see a lot of people like that. Like there's movements to strike at Amazon had that big strike on May Day, Instacart, all these people. Yeah, you see the essential workers themselves are saying like, motherfucker, we're the people holding up society right now. So we got society by the balls, as they always did, and they didn't know it. Now it's society's been laid bare. We see, okay, who's essential, right? It's the people it's the workers.
It's not the CEO.
No.
It's not you and I, frankly. Right. I mean, I'm here.
Right.
But in my line of work, I'm not essential, right? And I would probably be still working from home. It is the janitor. It is the subway or the public transportation worker. It is the nurse. It is the doctor. And even though it seems like hierarchical and vertical, the truth is, one of the things that we've seen with essential workers is there's a plain level field. We're talking about nurses. We're talking about the janitor. We're talking about the doctor. We're talking about the administrator of that hospital or the public transportation, right?
Or let me throw in there teachers too, right? Like even though they're all working from home, right? They still have a impossible job, right? Teaching was an impossible job before this, right? How do you teach these kids? How do I reach these kids? But now you're doing lessons plans through virtual, trying to lead a classroom virtually.
You have people that are not, that they're retiring and perhaps are not tech savvy, that had to learn within a day or two and get how to get this done, and they're doing it. So it's that a constant change or immediate change that happens with technology. But not only that is who is actually uplifting society and keeping us afloat is these essential workers. Most of them are union. Some of them are not. right? It is. I'm sorry, but it is. It's not the Starbucks CEO. It's not. Yeah, it's the people that are actually
Although Bezos
serving,
is about to be the first trillionaire ever.
and it's ridiculous. We have people dying of hunger right now. We have people that are unemployed,
He makes
losing their.
almost $9 million an hour.
Jesus Christ. And we still need a vaccine. We still need our economy.
Yeah, how many fucking masks, how many ventilators can he afford to buy, you know?
Thank you. Right. So you don't have to be Superman, right? And I'm not gonna. I just think it's a little insane that someone makes that amount of money while other people are dying. But yeah, why? I'm not gonna put a gun in his head saying put $9 million to buy ventilators.
Money is power, right? But power is also responsibility. The more power you have, the more
You
responsibility
have
you have.
yes, exactly. And character is we can sit here and criticize Bill Gates all we want, or Bloomberg all we want. They're the ones that put the $10 billion, not Jeff Bezos. So I know that there are ulterior motives that we should question with this help. But it is insane that we're gonna have a trillionaire in this world. Yeah, it's
and he's still trying to squeeze his workers. You know, he's still not paying them enough. You know,
not paying them enough. And
what more do you want from your employees? They made you a trillionaire.
They made you because he's not working. Yeah. Are the delivery people, the essential workers that are making him a trillionaire. And
so what kind of people would you interview on the labor podcast? Are you thinking of a name yet? Have it?
Yes, I would love to talk to Monica Ramirez because she's working with farm workers who are also essential workers. They're feeding us.
Where's she based out of, or is she always traveling around?
In Ohio. Yeah, she was in Washington. Now she's in Ohio. President of Justice for Migrants and the farm workers, and she's doing an amazing job. And part of Time's Up as well. And she's very in tune with the labor aspect of what's going on, not only with farm workers but Latino women, right? And Lily Hill also, she's also a business owner, and she can Lily Hill Valeta or Enrique Arbeales can also tell us on that side of the corporate side what's going on with the Latino businesses and how can you reinvent yourself. I think it's very important to see both ends and see how can we meet in the middle. That's actually negotiating in faith. And I think that there's a threat, this opportunity, and let's see where we're heading.
I was just thinking that like it's a chaotic moment, and there's an opportunity. I think we just ran the gamut right now in our conversation. There's an opportunity for bad shit to happen, right? People to take more power, take more money, cancel elections, yada, 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 stop protests. But there's also an opportunity for, again, like we just brought up, artists to create, find out new ways of creating. People, it's a time for reinvention, right? And you can either reinvent into something worse or something better.
What if, one of the things that I keep on hearing in the grapevine around is, what if you move pharmaceuticals from China and bring them back to Puerto Rico and create more work here? There's more to study and see. We still want this to be beneficial to Puerto Ricans on the island.
Because it wasn't all the Viagra made in Puerto Rico, but Puerto Rico didn't see any of that because of the triple tax exemptions.
Yes, and all of that. So we need to, tax reform and see how can that happen. But there are opportunities to stop depending in other countries.
It's time for Puerto Rico. It's time for another grito. I mean, because if Puerto Ricans take to the streets, right, and demand independence, right? Demand independence. First of all, you think like the racist white people in America are gonna, if they see Puerto Ricans out in the streets in Puerto Rico demanding independence, they're gonna be like, you know what? We're not gonna send our boys over there to secure Puerto Rico as a colony. If they want to be independent, leave them. You know. But there's
we just have to say, right.
But there's a power structure in Puerto Rico that doesn't want Puerto Rico to be independent or a state. I don't think they like this little colony.
Yeah. Right now, there's more money that comes out to the United States from Puerto Rico than all the way around.
That's how colonialism works.
So I was gonna say that, right? So I was gonna say that there's a colonial thing, but there's an economic issue, right? So, and this is for a much larger conversation, which was had before, and we've written ad nauseum about it. But um, I think the pandemic, particularly, could be a good opportunity not only to revisit that and probably say, you know, we need to be independent, but at the same time, we can bring this, be part of the world economy and bring all these businesses here,
Right.
create more work. Having said that, in the United States is one of the things that baffled me beyond repair, because my sister was telling me that she was in charge of stocking the masks and the PPE and all of that for her, you know, job, and they had to stop scheduling surgery because everything came from China, and they stopped doing that during the pandemic. And I'm like, whatever happened to things, you know, companies in the United States? Oh, they're 3 times more expensive. That's the problem right there. So bring those, you know, be competitive and bring that here. Why are you so dependent on China or other countries that when you can produce, you know, the same thing that we talk about Puerto Rico, you know, we have our own agriculture, we can do our own aguacates and mangoes. Why do we need masks from China? Why, you know, in the competitive price? So I think independence is a lot broader than just killing colonialism, right?
Oh, for sure. No, it's
economic independence.
It's Puerto Rico standing up as tall as it can, because for as long as, since fucking Colon came, Puerto Rico's been hunched over, and it's never been allowed to stand as tall as it can,
People are very indoctrinated too. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen. This plebiscite that is happening in November, again, we need to stay focused in this pandemic, the underlying, why the evil is working behind the scenes. We need to stay alert and vigilant. Now they want to plebiscite. Of course they're going to vote yes. We're going to be a state. Of course people are going to vote yes. If they're suffering in a pandemic, people are anxious. I'm not as anxious because I just came from the fucking war zone. So here I have a pool in the backyard and I feel very privileged. And in Trujillo Alto, where I'm at, there are only 40 cases, whereas in my building were 40 cases.
Jesus.
But for people in Trujillo Alto, that is anxiety.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm gonna get sick. And with Puerto Ricans, we are exaggerated. Oh my God, Yeah. However, there are 2,800 cases on the entire island, 125 deaths, most of them older people. So it's not as bad as other places, but for someone that lives in Puerto Rico, it's really bad.
Right. And especially because they just got over hurricanes, they just got over earthquakes. They've been living under colonialism. They'll survive a pandemic, but
and earthquakes are still happening.
Right.
So, there's a lot. We need to stay vigilant.
Supposedly the big one's coming, right? There's supposed to be a big one.
Oh God, please
in the Caribbean.
Oh, please no. Please no.
But I don't know who wrote. I don't know if it's Jesus Colon, or I don't know who wrote. Somebody will say René Marquez, who wrote The Docile Puerto Rican, right? Mm-hmm. That's what he says about the elections in Puerto Rico. He says de facto democracy. No, de jure democracy, de facto authoritarianism. So it's just like, you have these elections.
But it's happening in the United States too.
Right.
Well, it's happening around the world, but let's talk about
in different ways. Like in Puerto Rico's colonialism, in America, I think they just, Gramsci would call it like cultural hegemony, where they get the people in America to believe the bullshit. You know what I mean? Like,
and in the meantime, Navajo Nation has the worst cases of coronavirus
per capita, more than New York, right?
And no help. Well, what bullshit is that? Really?
And again, this only uncovers what's been happening, because Navajo Nation, like, they had terrible schools, right? Because the federal government didn't give a shit about their schools. They had bad health factors already, right? So yeah, I mean, the people who are suffering now are the people who were always suffering.
But now it's worse, and right. When you look, listen, to end, because we're on the hour. if anybody needs to learn something from Puerto Ricans, is two things. Look how we rebuilt after Hurricane Maria, and look what we did last summer. When you have nothing to lose, you rise up.
Yeah, I don't get what the oppressor's end game is. I don't get what these rich people's end game is. Like, you can't just keep taking and pushing people down.
What do
like,
you think is going to happen? People
yeah,
will
what do you think is going to happen? There's a few of you and there's so many of us. What are you going to do?
What do you think is going to happen? Stop with this madness and get into history. Like, get a history book, because history is very recent. We went through this.
No, but look at the history of Rome. Look at the history of Greece or anything. What goes up must come down. And what the people you push down will come up, will rise up.
Will come up. And there are over 90,000 deaths in the United States, and they will be vindicated. People will remember.
People are going to forget their dead friends, their dead relatives, you know, their dead neighbors. And remember what the federal government did or did not do during the pandemic. The kids are watching. The kids are seeing this all.
The kids are watching. The kids are losing their parents or grandparents. People will remember this, and not taking responsibility and just giving $1,200 to someone, you know, to each one of us. If you think that's gonna, you know, ease,
and giving $10 million to Shake Shack.
No, people are not gonna forget. I hope people don't forget.
Yeah, but again, read history. People forget, man. People forget.
Well, let's make sure people don't. You and I.
Well, let people know where they can find you, Marlena. It's been really cool chatting with you. Let people know where they can find you.
Twitter at Marlena Fitz. That is MarlenaFitz, short for Fitzpatrick. Same on Instagram. And my website is marlenafitzpatrick.com, because I'm unoriginal.
No, I mean, you're making it easy for people.
Magazine. And let's see when we do the labor podcast.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm sure people, like I was telling Carolina yesterday that, we agreed, you know everybody. So I'm sure when you put the word out that people are, you're going to start a labor podcast, you're going to be like, oh, I can't wait to listen to this thing. Thank you. I'm going to talk to you right after this, but thank you for coming on, and stay happy, stay
healthy and safe.
Healthy. Yeah, exactly. And say hi to your mom for me.
Say hi to Rocio.
Bye.
Bye.